since the main language had to be English, I'm just going to ask if there's someone in the room who doesn't speak Bulgarian. Is there someone? Okay. Still, I'm going to proceed in English since probably someone can join later and then it wouldn't be so nice. Okay, so my name is Yordan Terziev, and today I'm the managing director of adesso Bulgaria. Today I'm going to present to you 3 technologies that might be interesting to you and also might be your today's digitalization solution for tomorrow's success. We've divided our presentation in 3 parts. In the first part, we're going to explain who we are and what we do. In the second part, we are going to present 3 technologies that I mentioned. So Chatbot, a data extraction tool, and an appointment booking app on a mortgage loan application journey, customer journey. And we'll show you some, from our point of view, interesting directions that these technologies might be used. And in the last section, we'll give you a short demo of prototypes we've built with our company. So, who we are? We are a German-based company called adesso. It was established in 1997 in Dortmund, where nowadays is also our headquarters. And during the years, we've grown first in the DACH region with also about 30 or more locations in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. But in the recent years, we've also expanded internationally, mostly in Europe, with our newest location being Netherlands, but before that also Hungary, Spain, Bulgaria, and Turkey. We are representing here the Bulgarian office, and currently we are about 40 people that mainly do software development for the DACH region, where our main customers are. Our main goal is to be a partner in digital transformation, and that's mostly what this presentation is about, and what we attempt to do when we are partnering with a company is to optimize their core business processes by providing technological advices and developing individual customer software solutions for them. And we've done that across many industries, ranging from automotive, banking, health, insurance, and so on. And we are working mostly with open source and free technologies that are freely available on the market. But we also have experience with all the others, so to say. Our focus lies at least in Bulgaria, lies in Java development. But like I said, in a company that has grown almost something above 4,000 people, nowadays there are different divisions that are capable of using different technologies. And we have been using some of the newest ones as well, such as machine learning and artificial intelligence. We have been applying cloud in many of our customers' requests, and as well as doing data mining and analytics. So much about our company. If you'd like, we'll share the slides with you afterwards with the German Industrial and Handelskammer, and the slides could be found there as well. So what's this presentation about? I was actually thinking of how to proceed to the next section of the presentation. And actually 2 months ago, we weren't sure how to get new employees interested in new things, and how to get the business interested in new ideas. And then we got the idea of something like an idea challenge. And that was the point where some of the colleagues got excited about that, and started developing some prototypes. We started with other two colleagues to gather the business part of the technology. So how can it be used in certain situations? And then we got the idea and contacted the Deutsche Industrie- und Handelskammer to do this webinar, because this webinar, it's about sharing ideas. So we had some ideas, we developed some prototypes, and we are mostly glad and happy to be able to share it with you. And special thanks to the Deutsche Industrie- und Handelskammer for giving us the floor, and thank you for joining in this presentation. To make it easier presenting these technologies, we focused on a mortgage loan application, because it's a customer journey that's known to most of us. However, the technologies we are presenting are very well applicable in other scenarios, and we will also show you how, and show you related work about that. But let's first start with the main line, so showing what a mortgage loan application is and how the customer journey goes through there. Typically, when a customer looks for a mortgage, he goes on the internet, Googling it, and in some cases, in most cases, he lands on the web pages of the banks. However, and can get the most important condition and requirements about the mortgage. However, there are frequently some special cases where, for example, like it is happening now, the COVID situation is changing the economy as well, and how business is done. And these changes are frequently not directly available on the website, and it has to be gathered in some other way. After some time, the customer goes to step 2, where he, of course, wants to meet with the bank loans consultant and discuss his specific case. And in step 3 and 4, a very laborious task for both parties occurs, where as well as the customer has to gather some documents that has to be submitted to the bank, so that the bank can prove the financial stability of the customer, and financial stability and credibility, of course. And in the last 2 steps, of course, the bank does a property valuation, checking what the actual prices of the property are, so that it can calculate the amount that can be given as a loan. And in the 6th step, the final mortgage is underwritten and approved by the bank, and underwritten by the 2 parties. So what we've done with the colleagues is we have looked at the process and thought about where do we have difficulties there, what can be pain points from the customer perspective, and what could be pain points from the perspective of the bank. And as I mentioned previously, in the first step, it is mostly about providing the information. And this step is more or less crucial because frequently this information is meaning whether the customer would take the loan from this bank or would he take it from another bank. And if I have a question about the specific conditions nowadays with regard of COVID, I'm most probably the bank would have put some information on its website, but whether would it have put an information about the specific industries like the travel sector, where the mortgage condition might be different? Have my mortgage conditions changed if I have a mortgage right now? And for all these questions, I'm typically gonna call the bank and ask. And this is causing an increased load on the call agents of the bank, which is suboptimal from our point of view, especially for some simple questions like the ones I mentioned. But this is not the only problem. The second problem is that the number of customer agents are not infinite, so we have to mainly, most of the times also wait in the line. And in this regard, we want to share with you how we have imagined that the chatbot could be helpful in this situation. In the second step, so meeting with a bank's loan consultant, again, we have to schedule an appointment. Mostly nowadays, this happens over the phone. We again have to wait in line. And there we imagine that a customer opened, so if the bank could open, if a bank or an organization could open a calendar with its services, where the customers can book their appointments themselves. And as mentioned in the step 3 and 4, multiple documents typically collected by the customer and provided to the bank in order to prove the financial stability and credibility. And the bank, there's a multiple back and forth between the banks. So most of us know this situation. They go to the bank and submit that, and there's the false document that we have brought with us, and then we have to get back and choose a new document, and the bank has to check it again, and this is a very time-consuming procedure. And actually, according to a Moody's Analytics study from the recent years, most of the bankers say that these two steps are the most labor-intensive one, because collecting of the documents is just not so simple nowadays. And there we have also an idea that we want to share with you of how an online system with a connected automated processing might be helpful in this situation to, first, that the customers submit the right documents, but also second, reducing the load on the bank employees. And for the last two steps, we currently don't have a suggestion, but probably some of the experts, if they're interested, we would be happy to discuss where there are some options. So going to the first part, as I mentioned, the chatbot can help provide information to the customer. I'm not sure whether all of you know what a chatbot is. It's a hype topic, but still, I'm gonna explain it shortly what that is. A chatbot is a computer program that simulates natural human conversation. So more or less, it attempts to give the customer an experience that's the same experience as the customer would chat with another person. And the chatbot typically operates by processing the user words and phrases and then give a preset answer or execute a specific action. They inhabit platforms like Facebook Messenger nowadays, WhatsApp, or the other platforms that we all know. However, in certain situations where data privacy is an issue and also not the foreign platforms have to have access on such data, then chatbots can inhabit the private apps or the websites of the organizations. And Just for you as a simple overview, there are also different types of chatbots, of course. That's a very shorted list of what kind of chatbots can exist in this world. Of course, the list is a lot longer, but for this presentation, we've shortened it a little bit. And the most simple one is a chatbot with predefined question and answers. So some of the programmers go there and fill the chatbot with a predefined question. So, for example, has my mortgage conditions changed during the COVID-19 situation? So, can I postpone my paying my sums to the bank? There is a second type of chatbot, also with a predefined question and answers, but there is a little bit more flexibility on the question side. So I don't have to click on the questions. I can type in, and the chatbot can recognize what I'm asking and then give me a preset answer. And there's the third type, which is the most complicated one to implement. We have called them conversational agents that are capable of fully processing natural language. They're a lot more costly to train. There you would require a lot of data and a lot of data scientists as well. Whereas for the first two, you can do it actually pretty simply for the most common languages like German and English, or Chinese, for example. If you choose to do it for Bulgarian, it might be somewhat difficult. Therefore, in this presentation, we will focus on the first two and show you how they might be helpful to you. I think an important statement to make in this presentation is that we don't see chatbot as a replacement, but rather as an addition to the current systems. We don't see them as a separate application. We see them interacting with the existing systems of an organization like a bank, that it augments the systems in a way that is suitable for the users. And we certainly don't see chatbots as a replacement of call agents. Call agents are a lot more flexible, and the human touch is very difficult to replace. However, we still see chatbots in their positions as somewhat more flexible than websites. More flexible because if you go to the website and ask a specific question like the ones I previously mentioned, has my mortgage changed because of the COVID situation? I cannot ask this question somewhere on the website. I can get information, I can fill in forms, but this specific question can be, it's just the suitable place where you can ask a chatbot, and it is the normal thing where the user would go. If the chatbot doesn't have an answer for this question, the question might be forwarded to a call agent that might answer the question, and this question might be added to the knowledge base of the chatbot. And in this way, chatbot can learn additional skills from the user inputs. It can analyze the user inputs. If the same question is asked by, I don't know, 20 or 30 people, it might be a question that the organization that is using the chatbot should consider answering. And as I said, more difficult question can be forwarded to call agents. We see chatbots applicable only in certain situations. Like I said, depending on their training, there are multiple levels of chatbot, but mostly for the first two types of chatbot, we say them as suitable for offering initial information about service case before handing it off to an agent. Like I mentioned, the example going through through collecting initial information about the mortgage, then probably providing the required amount that we need and where is the house located that we want to buy. All this information can be collected to a chatbot and then handed off to an agent that would then have the time to do the more important things, namely consulting the customer in a better way. Another possible scenario for using chatbot is providing self-services in simple scenarios, like, for example, if I want to check the amount I have in my bank, or transferring some amount to a friend. It can also be used for answering repetitive questions asked by the customers. And just to get back shortly to our main line, how it would look like in a typical bank conversation. So a chatbot window would open on the website. It would tell you hi, and you can, for example, depending on the chatbot, what the chatbot is, you either can type in or you can select by predefined questions, as I previously mentioned. And in this case, for example, the customer can type in that he wants to apply for a loan. Chatbot can ask what type of loan, a mortgage loan. It can give the requirements needed for applying, and then the customer can ask about the conditions. And the chatbot can either forward the customer to an application that is used on the website for calculation of the mortgage conditions. So how many percent and what would it cost me and so on, or forward it to a consultant via the appointment scheduling app. So, as I said, we have the main focus here on this customer journey, but we as well wanted to give you some information of where chatbots are nowadays applied. And they're applied across multiple industries, ranging from insurance, e-commerce, telecommunication, and tourism. In tourism, for example, KLM, has applied a chatbot called Bibi for letting their customers receive information about flights and travel routes, and the customer can as well book flight tickets or trips over this chatbot. Insurance is also very, very interesting domain for applying chatbots nowadays. Since there is exactly this customer flow or customer journey where you have to enter multiple information points about the object you want to insure. For example, if I want to insure my house, I have to enter the square meters of the house, whether I have possessions that are over a certain amount. And a chatbot is one of the natural way in conversating about such topics, because also the question can go in different direction depending on my previous answers. And one such company that's very innovative in this direction is Lemonade, where you can do a contract about insurance policy of your house, for example, almost completely automatically online. In telecommunications, probably all of the telecommunications company mentioned here apply chatbots in these very simple scenarios for self-service that I previously mentioned, like checking the bills I have, or choosing or changing a subscription plan. Interestingly, chatbots have also been applied in e-commerce and very broadly. and sometimes as from companies as H&M, where chatbots are used for receiving assistance from the chatbot while online shopping, or getting personalized recommendations based on age, previous purchases, and so on. So that's more or less the information we wanted to share with you about chatbots, and we are going to go to the second step of our customer journey, which was the appointment scheduling. And we think appointment scheduling is important since everybody of us in some point of their lives had to wait on a queue, and it is really not a pleasant thing to do, especially in Bulgaria, where according to this source, Bulgarians rank fourth in Europe in waiting in queues. And we spent an average of 11 minutes on each of them. This thing is not only bad for economy and wasting the time of the people, but nowadays it's also somehow dangerous, because crowd gathering at customer desks can increase the infection numbers that happen there, which is also not a nice thing. It causes stress on customers. Of course, waiting for half an hour sometimes can be very unpleasant, but it also causes stress on employees, because they have to handle a lot of cases. And this also causes is difficulty for the bank or for the institution that has to serve the customer to do a resource planning. And I think the idea is not very new. It's not very innovative, but it is something that hasn't been applied as wide as we think it should, because there are probably multiple reasons for not applying it, but there are also some reasons for applying it, like I mentioned here. And what we imagine is that our sample bank here, called Bank of Sofia, provides an open schedule for the resources that they have in availability. And in this way, directly let the customer, for example, choose a slot where he wants to open an account. Of course, choosing a slot is something that can change. We know our colleagues get sick, or something in a previous appointment gets changed, and it takes longer. We also think that in this situation, such an app can also improve the whole situation, because you can get notified that your slot there have been some changes, and the service employee that should handle your case would be somewhat late. So you can get notified, and also know that you should go a little bit later. Using such an app has, from our point of view, advantages on both sides, customer and organizations. For customer, it is the remote appointment booking, like I said, notification if changes occur, and we think altogether reduced waiting time. For the organizations, we think there are also some advantages: improved customer flow. Employees can prepare for the appointments that await them, and altogether reduced workload on the call agents for appointment booking. We think there are also multiple other sectors where this kind can be applied. For example, in the public sector, in some of the companies are already doing it, like Superdog or Consento. They let you book your medical appointment online. Another industry for that would be maintenance, for example, booking technical checks for the vehicle or scheduling repairs for your home appliances. So, like I said, not a very new topic, but a topic that might be improved across some industries. And the final topic we want to share with you during this customer journey is called data extraction. And like I mentioned, this is a very labor-intensive topic for multiple employees, and it's also not a nice one because working with documents sometimes can be not the most interesting job in the world. And if we go back to our scenario, let's say the bank needs to extract the information from your monthly incomes. And to do that, one of the options is to get your contract and read the information from there. And this would be the typical first step that a bank employee would do. He would receive such a contract, and the first thing he would notice is that it is a temporary employment contract, and noticing this, he would go back to the customer and say, well, that's simply not the right document. So if you have I don't know, it probably depends on the bank, but most of the banks wouldn't let you have a mortgage loan if you have a temporary employment contract. So this would be a costly time-costly interaction for both the customer and the bank as well. And let's say some months later, the customer might come with a new job and a new employment agreement, typically going from, I don't know, 5 to 10 pages. And this time, this would be the right contract, and the bank can give a loan to the customer. However, it has to check some additional informations, like the monthly gross salary of the customer, which says whether it's enough to cover the payments to the bank. And secondly, it has to check whether the employment agreement is within the probation period and what start date of the employment agreement is. And this manual labor nowadays has to be done by the bank's employees. And actually the whole of this process. And we think most of this checking and data extraction is nowadays possible with more or less automatic tools. And we'll show you in the next few slides how this could happen in our demonstrations. However, let me first give you an example of what kind of industries use this kind of tools. We've looked through examples on the internet and looked through all the industries, and we found not only problems that have been solved with this solution, but also other solutions that are pretty interesting. So healthcare, for example, it was an interesting statistic for us that in 2017, 77 million sick leave documents were issued in Germany. And processing of this document and extracting the information and putting it in the enterprise resource planning system of the businesses and so on have costed more than 500 million euros in Germany. So it's tremendous amount of work done in just processing the simple document. The German government has not decided to use data extraction tools, but rather has decided to digitize the whole process, and it's of course actually the right thing to do, but not applicable in all industries. Many industries like accounting, for example, there aren't standards for issuing invoices, and applying these standards have been shown to be very difficult. However, it's still a very labor-intensive work, and issuing invoices and processing invoices ties on average 15 employees from different companies, and they're mostly tied with extracting this information. So the amount of the invoice, date, who is the company sending it, what's the number, the number of the company, and so on and so on. Very intensive and not so interesting work. Many companies nowadays have used such tools like wholesale consulting to automate the process, and it's not only automation, it's also that the data extraction, the quality of the extracted data is mostly better using automated tools. In insurance, also one example we found is that one of the largest insurance company in the EU processed almost 12 million paper documents in 2017, which is also a lot. And we see there some smaller companies that, for example, Lemonade that I previously mentioned, at least they're saying on their website that they handle 30% of the cases of the claims they receive automatically. So there are probably also some tools that extract automatically data from documents issued by the public authorities in some cases that insurance is needed. And just to sum up what we have presented you here, and to switch to the demonstrations, we've presented you 3 technologies that we think might be useful to you or to your company or to company you know. We've presented chatbots that can be useful in providing information, reducing costs, increasing customer satisfaction, and also increasing automation. We presented a relatively trivial appointment scheduling app that we think is not as widely deployed as it should be. That might increase the customer satisfaction of some of the target groups, and I think most of the younger population. We think it's pretty normal that the customers that are usually going directly to the bank do that in the same way, but we think it might be helpful in the future. And we presented you also how we imagine that a data extraction from textual documents in multiple scenarios can happen, and through this also reduce costs and increase automation. So now I'm going to attempt to show you 2 demos that have been built by our colleagues here in Bulgaria. And since they have been built separately from the presentation, they're going in somewhat different direction. So please excuse me for that. The first application, it's about a booking demo chatbot. And I'll show you it's a video, how it works, and explain what actually happened during the video. So this is the second type of the chatbot. We have been using Google Dialogflow for processing the messages. And as you see, what the customer types in is a free query, so to say, saying hi. And Google Dialogflow analyzes that as an external tool and says, that it's probably a greeting, and the chatbot responds with an answer, "Good day, what can I do to help you?" And afterwards, the chatbot, the customer is asking the chatbot what the weather in Paris is, or how is the weather in Paris. And there are multiple things that have to be recognized in this sentence, and they need to be mentioned now. And the one thing is the intent of the user. So the intent of the user is to know what the weather is. And the second important parameter is the location of the intent. In this case, this Paris. And these two parameters are fed to external services that afterwards can provide us with the required information, namely the weather in Paris is 12 degrees C, 12 degrees. One further important thing happens here. Since it is location, the system recognizes it as a context for the future development of the conversation. So it is also a very human, natural thing to do. We don't forget what we've talked about 5 minutes ago. We know the context of our conversation, and that's exactly what happens here. If the customer now types in that, "Can I book a room on a certain date?" the chatbot already knows where the book should be, the room should be booked. So it should be in Paris, but seemingly there are no available rooms. And the customer types in another query for the next week, when is the room availability, and yeah, it actually shows the room availability, and yeah, the user can book the room. So 3 important technical concepts to get from here. So like I said, the natural language processing happens through an external tool. In this case, Dialogflow. There are multiple others that can be used in such a situation. Another thing to remember is the chatbot can recognize the intent of the user, so looking for the weather in a specific location. And the third thing is that chatbots are not so stupid after all. Then they can remember the context and something that has already been talked with the customer, like I mentioned, the location in this case. So that was our first demonstration. And in the second demonstration, we'll show you how we imagine that a data extraction from a text document could be implemented. And we are very well aware that most of the text documents don't come per email. They come in a paper form. But there are a lot of tools like object character recognition tools that can be used to extract the text that it is in this form and processed by such an application. What we've done here is actually an experiment, and the experiment is called get a Wikipedia page about a particular city, get the text from this page, and try to recognize what is the country in which this city is located. And as you can see here, because we don't have enough time, we have shortened the example and taken just a paragraph from the Wikipedia city page of Haifa. And we can just go through it. It says Haifa is the third largest city in Israel. and so on and so on. The city of Haifa forms part of Haifa metropolitan area and second or third most popular metropolitan area in Israel, and so on. And what we'd like to do as a first step, we've trained, or we haven't trained the model in this case, but we've collected similar sentences that we've collected a number of sentences that contain a city and its country, like shown in the previous example. The city of the second or third most popular metropolitan area in Israel. So we've trained with other such cities, a lot of them, such sentences. And then we are looking for similar sentences in this paragraph. So the first task is to find the sentence. And as you can see in this demonstration, takes a little bit. We have been using a metric called Jaccard similarity, which is measuring the similarity of sentences. And as you can see, the results of the first step, we have found the right sentence. And in the second step, we have to extract the actual data value we are interested in, namely the country. And here we again apply similar technique. We are tokenizing, dividing the sentences in words, and looking which words are typically surrounding the country. So area in is something like that. We expect that after that, a country would follow. And in this way, we have found that Haifa is a city in Israel. And you can imagine that in same way, we can check contracts, labor contracts, whether on the top of the contract there is some statement about temporary labor contract, or whether such a statement is somewhere in the text. And there is an option to train with multiple documents and recognize multiple formulation of the same thing. So we have tried that in the Wikipedia articles, and we've done it with pretty simple techniques. And nowadays, this is possible. Exactly, we've done the same for a Bulgarian city with a somewhat longer paragraph. And as you can see, we've run with the same metric, and we found a sentence that Plovdiv is the cultural capital of Bulgaria, a pretty different sentence than the previous one. Still important factors there, cultural capital. If you, as a person, find some words like this in a sentence, you would expect, of course, that the country follows afterwards. And in the same way, like previously mentioned, we afterwards extract the country. So that was, thank you very much. Thank you for joining. And I hope by sharing our ideas, we could generate some new ideas with you. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them right now. And thank you very much. So, any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Terziev. As we saw in the chat, there was a question, but it was already answered. It was about the banking sector, and as we saw, it is only an example.
Exactly.
And it could be implemented in any field. So please do not hesitate. If you have questions now, you can ask them directly afterwards. If you don't mind, we will send the presentation to all the participants via email. So please. We see a question in the chat. Hello, I saw that you have First Spirit CMS in your portfolio. Do you do FC development here in Bulgaria?
Yes, of course. The whole portfolio that's it's adesso wide, so we would be happy to invite our colleagues that are the best experts in First Spirit and have taken participation in implementing it. So if you have any questions regarding First Spirit, we would be happy to talk with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Albena Stoyanova from Lenin, Bulgaria. I have one question related to data extraction.
Yes.
Do you have actually final application as a solution, or you work mainly on a project? And then do you have a solution for data extraction from text in Cyrillic, I mean Bulgarian language, and also from OCR format?
That's of course something we mentioned in the chatbot area. We haven't worked with Cyrillic. We think it is something we could be attempting in the future and give it a try. I'm not sure how the whole tokenization process and stemming would work. It might be somehow more difficult in Cyrillic, but I don't know. Especially with the Russian, we haven't tried it yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But one thing though, if you have a specific scenario in mind and you would like to share that scenario, we would be happy to analyze it in detail and give you feedback. So we are working with multiple research organizations as well, multiple universities, and it would be very interesting to analyze this Cyrillic problem in a specific context. So if you like to share it, please do that.
Thank you.
IT recognition, no. These are typically external systems that I think you mean it showing your ID and recognizing who the person is, and this is also legally obligating. That are typically external systems that provide that, but I'm not sure. I have to check whether we have that somewhere in our portfolio. I'll have to get back to you, Georgi. Okay, it seems that someone is raising his hand. I think Thorsten.
Hi, Jordan. It's Tom. My name is Thomas. Unfortunately, I was not able to join the whole time, but the majority I was able to join. Thanks a lot for the presentation of adesso. It was very, very interesting. My general question is: so I work for like a Bulgarian fintech startup called Payhawk, and we provide we issue smart Visa cards for companies. For companies who want to digitize and automate the whole cost and expense management system. And with our software, the question before, with our software, for example, you can also read Cyrillic invoices and Cyrillic like payment documents. My question generally is maybe a bit off topic, but do you guys also have like partnership programs where you cooperate with companies where you see the potential for your clients and partners for your overall client portfolio? And if so, how can we get in touch?
We do that on a regular basis. We at least the first step, we connect with multiple companies, see what they do and how that suits our portfolio. And we do typically in a 1-hour meeting, explaining in detail our portfolio, going in a lot more detail than here. And yes, we would be glad to get in touch with you and see what you do. Yeah, would be
Great.
happy to.
I will just send you an email after
Yes,
this.
please.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Well, it doesn't seem so.
Well, if there are no questions, then we would like to thank you for participating and thanking Adesso and Mr. Terziev for doing this presentation. We will send you the presentation. There we will see the context of Adesso and Mr. Terziev. If you have further questions, you can of course contact them and ask them privately. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye to everybody.